Hey, what's going on YouTube? HyperDark19 here, bringing you another deck profile in my Breaking the Meta segment. Sorry, I've been away for a while, but I've been in college, and unfortunately, in my college, nobody really plays Yu-Gi-Oh! So, unfortunately, that's the way it is. Gotta deal with it. But when I'm home, this is what I do in my free time. Yay me. So, I've been really thinking since the new September 2011 ban list came out about what deck I was going to play in this format. And for me, I tried all different ideas on Dueling Network, and for me, it always came back to the same deck. You guessed it. I'm playing Quickdraw again. Uh, Big shock there. It's probably my. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's definitely my favorite deck to play out of all the ones that I've ever made. And with the new ban list, it hit the deck in a few spots, but helped it in a lot more. So in this format, I think is really good for quick draw to work out very well. And yeah, I think it's a very. I've been testing this out on Dueling Network pretty extensively. It's a very consistent, very quick and powerful deck. If you get the right combos, this deck can just be totally ridiculous. It's really, really good. So, yeah, without further ado, I'll just get to the list. This is Quick Draw post September 2011. So, first up, not much has changed with the tuner lineup. We got the star of the deck, 3 Junk Synchrons. This guy brings back a lot of your key cards from the graveyard, like Doppel Warriors, Raikos, Tuning Wares, even Cyber Valleys if you really have to. Yeah, not much to say about Junk Synchron. He's a boss. Next up, we have 2 quick draws. I tested 3 quick draws. I feel like I've said this before. I tested 3 quick draws and found that it was very inconsistent because having 2 of this guy in your hand and no other monsters really blows. Plus, now that I have tuning, these guys really, really easy to search out. And like I said, combos with a lot of stuff in this deck. Free discards in this deck are good, generally speaking. So yeah, 2 quick draws. Then 1 Debris Dragon. I only ever played 1 Debris Dragon in this deck, but with the ban list limiting Debris Dragon to 1, it's now standard to just have 1. A lot of people looked at me before and said, why do you only play 1 Debris Dragon? I didn't really like Debris Dragon at 2, thought it was a little inconsistent. I really like it at 1 because it's just so searchable with stuff I have in this deck. I can draw into it a lot. Makes for great combos. Debris Dragon, before and after the ban list, still an awesome, awesome card. But now I think more consistent because it's at 1. And last but not least for the tuner lineup, I have my sole copy of Effect Veiler. I know some people are going to get on me about this and ask me why I don't run at least 2 Effect Veilers, or Max C for that matter, but in this deck, Max C I don't run because the Tuning Wear and Cyber Valley combos give me enough draws already that I don't have to worry about sticking Max C in, and I only run 1 Effect Veiler because, I don't know, just having a 1-star tuner is always handy because you can tune with pretty much anything and make a Synchro monster, especially 1s for formula and 7s for to make your 8 stars. But yeah, Effect Veiler is also really good, obviously. This format is very, very good for stopping the meta in its tracks, stopping the Bryonics, stopping the Blackluster Soldiers, stopping the Chaos Sorcerers, stopping the Judgment Dragons, everything. This card stops everything. It's impossible to stop itself unless Debunk is really the only card that can stop it. But yeah, Effect Veiler is such a good card right now. It's not even funny. So, and I don't know, having 2 in this build might be good, but for right now, 1's working pretty well. So, 1 Effect Veiler. Next up with the monsters, we have the Machine Dupe engine, same as always. 3 copies of Cyber Valley. Especially in this format, I think this card is a boss because there's not as many trap cards in this format, and that's consequently there's a lot less ways to get around Cyber Valley without attacking it. So yeah, and even if you don't use the ending the battle phase effect, which is really good because now this deck has very few trap cards, as you will see, and very few ways of stopping attacks other than this guy. But yeah, Cyber Valley has been and always will be a very good card in my opinion. Very overlooked card, and banishing it and another monster to draw a card makes it really good with Dandelion. If you foolish Dandelion, drop one of these guys, drop a Machine Dupe, that's a +4 essentially, and then you still have another one on the field to block an attack and draw another card, so it's like a +5 essentially. It's amazing, and I love Cyber Valley. Next up, the other half of the Machine Dupe engine, 3 Tuning Wares. This card is also very, very good. It's a light monster that's very important now. I'll get into why later on. And yeah, I mean, synchro with this guy, draw free cards, obviously with machine dupe, it's broken. So yeah, tuningware, very good. Only thing is, drawing two in a hand kind of sucks, but what are you gonna do? It happens sometimes. Next up, we have Doppel Warrior, two of them. I really like Doppel Warrior. I tested it at three and found it a little bit inconsistent, so I think two works fine. This card is, I don't know, in some respects it's better than Dandelion because Junk Synchron can bring it back. And its tokens have attack power actually. But I'm not gonna say it's better than Dandelion necessarily, but as long as Dandelion and this is still around, this deck is just gonna make tokens out the butt. So Doppel Warrior is, and also it can be special summoned from the hand if you play a Junk Synchron essentially. So Doppel Warrior is an awesome card and will continue to be an awesome card in this deck. Very solid choice. Next up, I had to cut down with the limitation of Pot of Avarice to one. Some of those deck's combos were hurt a little bit, and consequently, I had to cut down on the milling, which I went crazy with in the last deck. There were two Card Troopers and two Raikos. Card Troopers are gone, so the two Raikos are all that's left of the milling engine. Raiko is very good, especially in this deck. Not only is he a way to destroy cards, which sometimes this deck has a problem with, excuse me, but this guy plus Junk Synchron makes Frozen Fitzgerald, who is a very overlooked and, in my opinion, very powerful synchro monster that very few decks can use because very few decks play Junk Synchron and Raiko in the same deck. But yeah, Raiko gives you free mills as well, puts the tuning whereas the Doppel Warriors, the good stuff in the graveyard so you can bring it back with Junk Synchron and whatnot. Good stuff, very good card, really like it still. I'll get into the replacement for Card Trooper later on. Dandelion, for obvious reasons, card's broken. It probably should be banned, but as long as it's not, I'm going to abuse the hell out of it, so Dandelion it is. Sangan, for obvious reasons, searches out pretty much any card in this deck, except for the two monsters that are at the very end of the monster list. There's 22 in all, so Sangan searches out 19 of the 22 monsters. Very good card, obviously. Don't really have to say much. Sangan's broken. Next up, I really this last slot before the two last monsters, which are pretty much I think standard this format. This last slot I've debated about a lot. I've thought about putting Gores in. I've thought about putting Trag in. I've thought about putting Maxi or a second Effect Veiler in. But for right now, I really wanted the draw engine to work a little more smoothly. So for right now, I've settled on Morphing Jar. Morphing Jar actually got a lot better this format because now that Heavy Storm and MST are both back in full strength, your opponent is going to be a lot more careful about setting cards on the field, especially setting back rows. So they're going to hold trap cards in their hand. This makes Morphing Jar even more effective because you'll make them, if they decide to set a Solemn Warning and hold a Mirror Force in their hand, you can punish them for that by flipping this guy and taking out the traps that they still have in their hand. So yeah, Morphing Jar, it's also a lot harder to read this format because you can't just go, oh, set 5, set a monster, and that's a really easy way to read a jar coming up. But yeah, also provides some discard power, some really good draw power. I mean, you could make your opponent draw an Effect Veiler or a Gores or a Trag or something that could screw you over, but still, I really like Morphing Jar in this deck, and also it's abusable with Junk Synchron being 2 stars, so I like it so far. I'll let you know if anything changes. I may try Gores instead, but we'll see. I like Morphing Jar so far. And then, like I said, last but not least, the replacement for Card Trooper for this format, two Chaos Sorcerers. Undoubtedly an amazing card this format. If I had a Blackluster Soldier, one of these would be a Blackluster Soldier, but I don't. So for now, Chaos Sorcerer is a pretty good replacement. Chaos Sorcerer, anything Chaos is good this format, and in this deck especially, with all the lights and darks, Tuning Wares, Doppel Warriors, Junk Synchrons, Raikos, this card has a lot of fuel and a lot of options, and this thing can make OTKs happen. And it can get rid of nasty stuff like Gores and Trag as long as you didn't attack with it. So yeah, Chaos Sorcerer, extremely good this format. And I mean, if he's in your hand and you don't need him, just discard him. There's a lot of ways to do that. So yeah, Chaos Sorcerer is an awesome choice this format, I feel. Next up, some staple spell cards. Monster Reborn, staple. Dark-Hole, staple. Heavy Storm, now back, new staple. Really, I'm glad this card is back. It makes the format so much less sacky. And yeah, I really like Heavy Storm being back. I think everyone does. Next up, we have 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. I honestly think even though I could run 3, with the destruction that this deck has already, I think 3 would be a little overkill. So yeah, 3 would be, yeah, like I said, 3 would be overkill. 2 MSTs takes out the single laid back rows. Heavy Storm takes care of like the double or triple back row. So yeah, MST main deck this format, very solid choice since they're not playing as many back rows. Next, Mind Control, staple. So many tuners in this deck abused with this card. Great stuff. Mind Control is awesome. Foolish Burial, Dandelion, Doppel Warrior, Tuning Wear, anything you want from your deck to the graveyard. Very, very good. Obvious choice. One Pot of Avarice had to go down from 2 because of the new ban list. It hurts the consistency of the Tuningware engine, the Tuningware or Cyber Valley engine a little bit, but honestly, I like this card at 1 because drawing 1 starting hand was never a good thing, and this way I hardly ever draw it unless I really need it. So Pot of Avarice, I really like it. It actually is probably more consistent at 1 than it ever was at 3. So I don't know. I really like the 1 Pot of Avarice. It's obviously a good card in this deck, but it's doing okay. Next up, we have, I'm running a long time, with 2 copies of Tuning, searches out the Junk Synchrons and the Quickdraw, 2 of my main monsters, obviously, and provides a free mill. So, yeah, I mean, who says no to recruiter cards like that? Awesome. Speaking of recruiter cards, Reinforcements of the Army, 1 copy, searches out Junk Synchron and Doppel Warrior. That's pretty much it, but you hit it a lot, and it's just another 1-for-1 trade-off card, so it's great. Helps thin the deck. It's awesome. Then, speaking of thinning the deck, we have 2 machine duplications. 3 is way overkill, especially because you only have 2 separate targets. And once you use them, you're pretty much done unless it's Tuning Where and you have Pot of Avarice. But yeah, 2 machine dupes, obviously abusable with Cyber Valley and Tuning Where. Card Trooper's gone, so you can't abuse it with that anymore. But yeah, machine dupe's still good. Stay at 2. Solid choice. Alright, and last but not least for the spells, we have, for a little extra draw power, 2 copies of Hand Destruction. I tested 3 once again. Overkill, ended up drawing 2 or 3 in a hand, and that really sucks. So, yeah, helps you dump the Tuning Wares, Doppel Warriors, anything you don't want in your hand, or Quick Draws, even Chaos Sorcerers, anything you don't want in your hand to the grave so you can get new stuff. Like I said, discarding cards with this deck is a good thing, especially if you draw cards in the bargain. So, 2 Hand Destructions. Also, it's quick play and it can be chained, so yeah, good stuff. Just got to be careful when you're playing against Dark World and stuff. But yeah, and then only 3 traps in this deck, and with this format, the only good traps, in my opinion, are chainable traps. And with reflection of that, the 3 traps are 3 copies of Threatening Roar. This card has saved my butt more than once, more often than not. Is a great choice, better than Mirror Force or Torrential, because Mirror Force, Torrential, and Solemn, don't get me wrong, they're still all good cards, but with Heavy Storm and MST running rampant on the format, more often than not, they're not going to go off. So this will always go off, and it's just a really great card, I think. Stops the OTKs, stops them from getting too much damage on you, and the next turn you can just come back and win. I love Threatening Roar this format. Then real quick, go through the Synchro monsters. Formula, I know it seems a little bit out of place, but it's for those Effect Veiler with a token or Effect Veiler with a Tuning Wear. That's nice because you get +2 essentially. Draw 2 cards. But yeah, Formula's in here for just in case I need it. I really like it. Catastor, obviously, staple synchro. Junk Warrior for the Doppel Warrior Junk Synchron combo. Pretty solid card. Opportunity to get even stronger than that, potentially. 3,100, run over a Judgment Dragon, I'll take it. Frozen Fitzgerald for the Junk Synchron Raikou combo. When it attacks, your opponent can't activate spells and traps, plus it has 2,500, and if it's destroyed in battle while it's the only monster on the field, you discard a card to summon it back. It's 2,500 attack and defense, great beater in my opinion. Brionac, finally got a Brionac, yes, good card, obvious choice. 2 Drill Warriors, I think one of the most broken synchros in the game, no one can argue that with me. Iron Chain for Debris Raikou, yes, obviously, I just needed a target for that. 2 Black Rose, obvious reasons. Junk Archer, love this card. Junk Berserker, like it more than Nitro Warrior. It's been replaced, I like it a lot more. 2 Junk Destroyers, better this format than ever. Blows stuff up, clears the field, awesome. And Scrap Dragon, replacement for Stardust, destroys more stuff. That's the deck profile. Until next time, rule the meta, don't let the meta rule you. Peace out, YouTube.